Welcome to another Random Gaming News, where today we're going to be talking about a few quick mentions that I think we should look at, as well as AMD's mess up at CES, and ending with a little bit of the Pokemon Direct, kind of going over what exactly happened with it. Please check out the description so you guys can support the other YouTubers and the Discord server I made so you guys can come and suggest news that you might want to hear. Please share the video to help out the channel, hit the like button if you did enjoy it, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and turn on that bell icon to be notified of my next video. Let's go ahead and start the show. So first up for the quick mentions, did you know that the PS4 actually sold over 106 million consoles over the lifetime of its stay here in the console generation? And it's done some other impressive feats as well, and the only other console that's sold better than it is actually a PS2 for Sony. And some of the other feats that it's accomplished here in this console generation is actually making one of the most successful VR headsets, the PSVR, selling 5 million units of them, and then also having a staggering 38.8 million PS Now users, and that's a lot for Sony to work with when going into the holiday season. So it'd be interesting to see what happens here when the next console generation comes out, especially now that Microsoft is actually leaning in a little bit more on their Windows-based users. And I just would like to see anything that comes out in the next console war here this holiday season. So Alienware actually brought a concept device to CES earlier this week, and the concept device was actually called UFO, and it's noticeably cool because it's something like the Switch, but has an OS of the Windows 10 on there, so you actually can play computer games on it as well as anything else that you can probably think of, because it has Windows 10 built in. Also, it has detachable controllers that have that you can play just like with the Nintendo Switch, and it has the iodized lunar light aluminum that they've been using for their newest laptops. And it's cool to see companies come out with concept devices like this, but I don't think anything will come of it. And if it does, this device will be awfully pricey, I believe. In my opinion, it'd probably be in the $700 to $1,000 price range if it does come out. Where we have the Nintendo Switch, you can get it set up with Breath of the Wild and the entire console for about $400. So that's quite a big difference when it does come to something of a casual console player. So it'd be interesting to see. I just don't think they're going to be taking down Nintendo anytime soon. So lastly, I just want to talk about Google Stadia and the state that they were in. So we know what Google Stadia is by now. It's a streaming service that allows you to do 4K streaming to it. But when they first came out, they had some numbers for Destiny 2 that were in about 19,000 player range when it first came out of concurrent players. And since some news has come out a month after Google Stadia has actually launched, about 8,020 players are playing Destiny 2 right now for the Google Stadia platform, and that's about over half of the players just gone from the platform. And it's kind of interesting to see what's coming of Google Stadia. They can I believe turn this around if they start offering some more free games with their subscription service and come out with the free service later on this year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from Google Stadia from here on out. Now let's talk about the ports on the back of the Xbox Series X. So AMD had their keynote speech Monday at CES, where they showed off their new CPUs and GPUs, and they also showed off the back of the Xbox Series X in a highlight video that they showed to everybody there. Well, the only problem with that is that they got the wrong rendered picture from Turbo Squid, and they showed off a picture that had a Xbox Series X with 2 HDMI and 2 USB-C ports and also an Ethernet port. Well, the real back of the Xbox Series X only doesn't have any USB-C ports or 2 HDMI ports. It only has 1 HDMI port, 2 USB-A, and an Ethernet port, and another port that's most likely for debugging and whatnot there. And it all sits in the middle of 2 air intake spots for the Xbox Series X on the back. And AMD had theirs in a line kind of showing that there with no intake for air, which, the way that these systems are built, they're pretty beefy and little PC computers. The Xbox Series X looks like a mini form factor PC, so it's going to put off a lot of heat, and it's going to need those 2 intakes on the back. And AMD does actually make the CPUs and GPUs for all the current and the next generation consoles that will be coming out, so it's not a too far-fetched of a thing that they put the Xbox Series X in there. I just wish they got the real picture, or just use the front of the console, or just not put it in there at all, because they're really there to show off their CPUs and GPUs. Why not show killed those off and not put this in there. But what's done is done, and it's pretty interesting to see what will happen, because this may not even be the real back of the Xbox Series X even, because it's not come out yet, and we will probably get some more information when it comes out, more information at E3 this year than anything else, and I'm very excited to see what the actual back of the Xbox Series X looks like. Now let's talk a little bit about the Pokemon Direct that happened yesterday. They showed off a lot of information, I feel like, there for the new Pokemon Sword and Shield, but they started off with the Pokemon, the Mystery Dungeon Pokemon Rescue Team DX, and that's going to be coming in March. I don't really pay a whole lot of attention. I didn't really like those games growing up, but it is nice to see that they are reaching back to other things that they can bring forward. I hope next they, reamp the Pokemon Tournament style stuff to, add in the Pokemon Sword and Shield stuff, and maybe adding in a little bit from that Pokemon bank there. But it's nice to see them reaching back. I'd like to see maybe Pokemon Snap 2. That's really nice, kind of reach back to bring here to us. But the big meat and potatoes of the show was the 2 expansions that they showed off there. That's right, they're getting an expansion pass that has 2 expansions with it. It's the Isle of Armor and the Crown of Tundra. They'll be coming along. One will be coming, the Isle of Armor will be coming actually in June, and the Crown of Tundra will be sometime in the fall. Now, the Isle of Armor is going to be somewhat focused on a growth type story, and it showed off Venusaur with large petals, so that'll be interesting to see what comes from that. In the Crown of Tundra is going to actually be showing off a pretty snowy area that gives a lot of room for exploration and finding new Pokemon there, they said, and maybe weird trees, and they are even working in a new dungeon system to bring back a lot of those legendary Pokemon that people want, and adding over 200 plus Pokemon with these 2 expansions and a bunch of customizations to your trainer. The only downside here is that you have to pay $30 per game to actually get the expansions, so if you are someone like myself that bought the double pack, that means you will be shelling out another $60 if you want both the expansions for both Pokemon Sword and Shield. So that is something, a little bit of a double-edged sword. It's nice to see that they are doing something like that, and people were getting a lot of, upset about this, saying that it was cut content. They even came out themselves and said that there was some content from the game that they couldn't just work on because of time constraints and needing to get the game out on time for this holiday season. So they're bringing that content in the form of actual paid DLC, which is nice to see, because they did actually say if they didn't do this, they would actually be putting out a third Pokemon game. And so instead of getting a third Pokemon game, we're just getting continuous updates to the current one, which is actually something that I kind of like myself, because then instead of going and always shelling out another $60, I can just shell out $30 if I want that expansion pass and get everything that they're adding to it, which I feel like is a lot, because 200 Pokemon, all the legendary ones, and new legendary Pokemon actually coming with the expansions. Like each expansions actually have their own legendary Pokemon coming with them, and so that's actually something interesting to see. I'd like to know what you guys thought about any of the Pokemon Direct, if you did actually watch it, or if you are watching this and have any questions about it. Go ahead and leave those down in the comments below for me. Well, that's the video for today. I'd like to know what you guys thought about anything here that you saw down in the comments, like the AMD disaster that happened at CES earlier this week, and how funny you guys actually thought that was. I thought it was a pretty tickle there for me. Leave those thoughts down in the comments, and also check out the links that are down in the description for supporting the other YouTuber that is going to be down there, plus the Discord server where you guys can suggest your own news that you'd like to hear. Please share the video to help out the channel the most. Hitting the like button if you enjoyed it is always awesome. Subscribe if you haven't already with the bell icon turned on so you can be notified of when I make my next video. As always, I have been Tasty, this has been Random Gaming News, and have a wonderful fucking gaming night. Why are you even still here? Hit the subscribe button if you are, and then check out these past videos and go do something with your life. Get off the couch and put your phone away. Enjoy the outdoors. That's right, get out of here. This is gross that we're even still doing this. Bye!